This is our track management system. And with track management, we have the ability in the software to rearrange the motor modules into any order on the fly. Then we simply reposition the motor modules mechanically, and the movers will transition from one section of track to the next section of track smoothly. This allows us a whole myriad of new applications. The switches don't need to be simple switches as they are in this case. What we can do is we can set up multiple diverse track sections and move the movers around through the system wherever they need to go. We simply reposition the motor modules into the new order, and now I have a new switching system, very similar to a railroad train yard. It also allows for simple setups like this, where we simply have two switches. And the switches then can be positioned very close together. So here we have two rails that are very narrow, and we can move movers from one side to the other side, making a very compact XTS system, and have the added benefit that the mover never has to rotate in the other direction. If I do applications where I have two movers holding the same product, this makes it very simple. I no longer need to drive through a curve holding the product. I simply drive onto a switch, move up, and I drive off the switch. We also have the capability to store extra movers. So I can have a section of track underneath the system where maybe I have 20 other movers with a different tooling. Those movers can then automatically be brought into the system in an automated tool exchange. Or in applications where I change the length of the part drastically, when I have a longer part, I may have too many movers in the system and the empty movers are getting in the way. So when I run long parts, I can automatically move out extra movers. And when I switch back to shorter parts, I can on the fly bring in those extra movers and run then at a higher rate. So here we have the system running a very simple setup, two movers on one side, one mover on the other side. Now we'll speed everything up.
Okay, well, thanks, Rob, for really demonstrating the principle of the track management system. So here we are back in the Tiverton studio. Tim's joining me, along with the very latest generation of the track management system, which is a production demonstration unit. And we have got it turned down nice and slow. Firstly, because we don't want to make too much noise while we're filming, and also it's in the early stages of commissioning. But Tim, so I do want to turn this up. Realistically, what sort of performance can I get out of this system?
Well, from the track management element, I would expect to achieve 200 milliseconds for that stroke. That's taking about 3 seconds at the moment.
Okay, and what about the sort of rest of the GFX track system itself?
Well, the GFX track system itself is exactly that. 4 meters a second, 100 meters per second squared acceleration. It's absolutely standard.
Okay, so we could be shuttling the carriages into the track management switch at 4 meters a second, the switch operating at 200 milliseconds, and theoretically doing that 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Okay, and of course, you know, I know when a machine is running for an extended period, then you get things like heat build-up, and you need to maintain a very high level of accuracy on that transition. You know, how do you realistically do that?
Well, we've got two methods. There's one that's built in, which is the position of the encoder and the encoder strip. So it's neatly balanced and enclosed. So any thermal variations have the minimum effect on the position. And the other one is we do actually monitor temperature. So temperature extremes can be accommodated within the software for the track management.
Yeah, and it just goes to show how sort of Beckhoff and Hepco have really worked together to come up with a system that works so incredibly well, incredibly reliably. And, you know, talking about reliability, I mean, you know, how realistically, how durable is this system if we are talking about running 24 hours a day?
Well, we are looking at tens of millions of cycles for that unit. It's a large ball screw. It's good quality ball rails, good quality everything in there really, and it's driven by a Beckhoff servo motor underneath.
Fantastic, and just sort of looking at this system, I noticed that the top level is a sort of what I would call a typical sort of oval GFX XTS system, but underneath, the system there is noticeably different. What's happening down on that bottom level, Tim?
Well, as engineers, we like to play, and it was a wonderful opportunity to integrate all of the different the motor elements from Beckhoff. So we have the standard 250mm straight unit, we have a 22.5 degree internal curve, a 22.5 degree external curve, 45 degree curves, and 180 degree clothoid curve, which is used on the upper level there.
No, it really is a magnificent piece of technology and engineering, so incredibly interesting. But, when we're talking about the sort of applications we might be looking at, and Rob's touched on how you can operate with this system, what realistically are we looking at in sort of real world type of applications that we might encounter?
Well, fundamentally, we can switch between complete track systems, so as you can see there. That allows us to remove for inspection, remove for disposal or correction, or transition to a completely different process without losing track. The Beckhoff software, XTS software, allows constant tracking of each component as it goes around the system.
Yeah, very interesting. And obviously the fact that we've got these stack systems, we can have maybe 2 or 3 stacks high, really taking XTS and GFX to another level. I guess ultimately that's going to save on footprint.
Yes, I mean there's no reason that we cannot stack 3 or 4 levels. The perhaps speed and fundamental inertia of a large mass moving around is going to slow things down, but there's no reason to think that we cannot stack processes one above each other rather than out across a larger floor area.
No, it's incredibly fascinating, and going forwards, we're really looking forward to seeing how our customers are going to be using this technology, working with Hepco and Beckhoff, to really optimize their production lines, maximizing throughput, all with the well-proven Beckhoff and Hepco technology backing it up.